the Section 8 pools, particularly important in other places, thousands of people apply to get a voucher. Thousands of people go on a waiting list. When you get that voucher, that's like the golden ticket in Willy Wonka. And yes, there are going to be some folks who probably aren't going to be great, but the bulk of people, like, this is their ticket to stability and potentially prosperity. They're not going to screw it up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure some people will, but the reality is people need that voucher to get to turn their life around. And look, you got bad renters whether they have a voucher holder or not, right? Nobody is perfect, but but what I would say is that it's you know, nothing's more disappointing when I've had stories from people who are like, I have great rental history. I just need a place to rent. I have a voucher, and I've looked for 2 months, and I can't find a place, and I have to turn my voucher back. That is hugely impactful for that person's life. And you probably potentially missed out on a good renter if you've not taken any Section 8. I'm not saying you're never going to have problems. I'm not saying there are bad renters out there. I live next to some of them. Believe me, I live next to a guy who had problems, and his cockroaches ran up to my unit. It happens. But I think at the end of the day, we're not going to see a lot of people using the mitigation fund, and you're probably going to find some great new renters.
So the difference really is, frankly, nothing. Except that you can't tell somebody, you can't apply just because you don't have enough money and you're on a voucher program. Any of the reason you use to deny an applicant, you can still use. So
There's no special treatment here.
what about the level of inspection then? So if someone comes in, if the federal government comes and inspects and says, you know what, you don't pass inspection, you need to change ABC, can you use not passing inspection as a reason not to rent to the Section 8 voucher program holder?
I don't believe so. So one of the things that we heard about the inspection was, one of the things that was really interesting to me when I talked to some of the housing authorities, but not all housing authorities are created equal. I said, do you ever talk to your landlords? And they're like, no, not really. We send them notices. And it's like, you know, you have to communicate. There has to be a feedback loop. And, you know, what I can commit to you is, one of the things that's in the bill is that there has to be a mode of regular communication with the landlords. And some of the housing authorities were upset with that because they're like, oh, you mean I have to have more meetings with them? I have to have a meeting and I have to spend all this stuff. I said, no. How about surveying the landlords once in a while? How about an occasional focus group? Maybe one meeting a year. But getting the feedback of, you know, I can't believe it took me 2.5 weeks to get an inspection. Now, you should not wait till a meeting to tell them that because, and frankly, if you're having that kind of problem with your housing authority, Cindy has my personal number. I don't want you to have to wait that long. There's no reason housing authorities can't figure out a way to get out there and inspect your property in a fashion that, and I would guess most of you have properties that are just fine, although with the occasional burn down light bulb. So, we don't have it perfect yet, but we will work hard to improve the inspection time.
And that for me is the key here. We don't have it perfect yet, but we'll work to get there. How many times have you heard someone in politics saying, I don't know the answer yet, but I'm going to work really hard and have you participate in getting there?
Obama.
No. But that's the difference here. That's the difference here. This is an ongoing conversation. Your board decided, because we want to participate in an ongoing conversation, we want to support the speaker in any way we can. So I just received one last question. I'm trying to stop saying gotta, gonna, all that. I just received one last question. So almost all landlords and property managers have in their criteria, applicant must make 3 times monthly gross income to qualify. Do they have to change their basic criteria that they've used in the past as we move forward with this bill?
Question, I can't spell. Ask it.
You can't spell?
No.
Okay.
He's
go
very
ahead.
patiently raising his hand.
Oh, you're so kind. I'm sorry. I didn't even see you raise your
No,
hand.
that's okay.
Please do. Please do.
Do you have a program for the Section 8 tenant to improve, understand rules, how to model to become a good tenant?
That's a really, so the question was, do you have, is there a program in place to help Section 8 voucher holders be better renters? It's a really good question. So one of our early conversations with the housing authorities was, so what do you do to help prepare the folks with the voucher to be prepared to rent up? And I was stunned by the silence on the side of the housing authority. Some of it's just resources. They said, oh, we used to have that program. We used to have like a ready to rent program, but it got unfunded. That's not a good enough answer, because part of the reason of this bill was to help everybody succeed. And I think you're setting up a voucher holder to not be successful if you don't give them some help and help them understand what the voucher actually means and what the obligations are. And so we're going to be working on that. We don't have anything completely in place yet.
Follow the rental rules, unauthorized guests have been kicked out, stuff like that.
There used to be programs that help folks, but that's one of the things that has been cut. And I think as the state gets more heavily involved, again, my goal is to help everyone be successful. And I think when someone loses their rental unit because they screwed up, that's also a problem. Because more than likely, they're either disabled, a vet, or they have small kids.
Yeah.
These are folks that, you know, getting thrown out because they did something wrong is not good for them. So, you know, the ability that we can help them is something we're looking into, and that's something we could probably do at the state once we have a little more coordination with the housing board.
Yeah, I think it
Third
was,
parties from manipulating them and using their housing and getting them out off the program. Like a boyfriend, girlfriend, you know.
Yeah, manipulation of the program. Well, you know, the housing authorities are pretty clear about federal guidelines of you know, drug dealing and certain other criminal activity. You will lose your voucher over that, and family members will lose their ability to get vouchers as well. So you have to hold the housing authorities accountable that they're actually enforcing the rules as well. This is a partnership. It's a three-legged stool. You know, everybody involved has to do their part.
so Madam Speaker, I know you have to go, and I appreciate you staying later than you were supposed to.
Didn't get my question.
I
I'm happy to
I
take
have about 30 questions.
I have a very important question.
If this guy do away with my month-to-month rent, then I can't have that anymore, is that right?
So the question is month to month. So if you have a voucher holder, if you have a voucher holder that you approve, like I want to rent to this person, it does have to, you have to have a lease.
That's a federal
No,
requirement,
month to
that's not a
month. I
state
can't do
requirement.
month to month, huh? You're taking that away?
What you have to, what is required as part of having a voucher is that you need to have a lease. Now, you can go to the housing authority and say, everybody in my neighborhood, everybody does a month to month. Help me set up a month to month arrangement with the voucher holder. They have that flexibility. They're more likely to want to do a 6 month. I know some people say, well, they can only do a year lease. That's not true. Whatever is the market, what is ongoing in the market, is what you can have as a lease. But you have to have a lease.
But what I want, I don't get it, huh?
No, she didn't say
You
that.
could
She
have
said
month to
this
month if that's
goes-
what everyone around you is doing.
But no one else is doing month to month.
No, tons of people are. Tons of
Oh,
people
really?
are. Oh, yeah. You're not
I
allowed.
pay month to month a lot, but yeah, so I
You're
think,
not- you're
but
not
again,
allowed-
that's the ongoing
So that
conversation
will be
between the housing.
taken away from me then,
Doesn't have to, no.
okay?
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't know which one was yours.
Yeah, I appreciate you telling us all the things that are in the bill, but none of us have had a chance to read it, and I think that we should. We should be able to look at the bill before the legislature votes on it, and if we don't understand, we can take it to our own lawyers to have them examine it, number one. All right. Secondly, I'm wondering if there's some provisions in this bill that regulatory agencies are allowed to change those requirements that you've met later on once they get their foot in the door, number two. And number three, upon a federal inspection, if they find things they don't like, are they able to communicate those things to cities and states, triggering other inspections?
I think it's a no on the last question.
Okay.
This is, it's contained in the program itself with the housing authority. So I don't think they do any reporting. They just need, you just need to meet HUD requirements in your unit. The second question, you know, the federal government moves very slowly. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of change in the program overnight. And in terms of what we can do here at the state, I'm just interested in making the program better, not worse for landlords. So I'm
It's
not
true,
totally
but you're not the federal government.
Well, the federal government,
The federal government makes all kinds of rules and changes them.
yeah.
They can
One of
they can write out bills and later on decide, well, we're gonna change this provision, we don't like
They
this
can, but they're
one.
kind of slow. I mean, at least the
Yeah.
legislature here.
Yeah, we've seen how slow
But
they are.
what I would say is, in the bill, and I do think, to your first comment, yes, you should read the bill. It has been engrossed, means don't look at the bill that was introduced, look at the bill that as it was amended. So if you go to the website and we'll send you the link, you can look at the actual bill as it's been amended. It's sitting in the budget committee. It will not move out of the budget committee until I can guarantee we actually have the money for the mitigation fund. So we're not quite there yet. We've got a bit of a budget problem at this stage, so we won't move the bill unless we have the mitigation fund funded. So if we can do that, we'll move it out of the budget committee. But there's a provision there that says we will petition the federal government to get a statewide waiver, so we have ultimate flexibility, so we can kind of write our own rules here. We did it with Medicaid, we've done it with education, there's no reason we can't get the federal government to say, okay, Oregon.
Does that apply after the bill is voted on as well?
Well, the goal is to go after that, but we don't have the waiver yet, but the goal is to go apply.
But I
It's a
mean,
simultaneous
as far as the language that's actually in the bill, it could say something like, we're allowed to change these rules at our own discretion.
Well, take a look at the bill and write me and let me know what you think. I mean, there might be something specific that you're worried about. I mean, I don't think that's the case, but, I mean, any law can be changed, but my goal is not, that bill is a good bill, and we try to construct it way to work for it.
Just a few things to think
Have you heard
about.
about I don't remember the name of the group, but there's a group that's trying to affect this bill, modify it so that it would only affect landlords that have 10 units or more. Have you heard of that?
I know there was some interest in having it only apply for larger
Right.
units, yes.
And what kind of progress are they making with that? Do you have-
That I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't support just making it for larger landlords.
And then one last question, you touched on it, but I wanted to ask again, when Cindy had mentioned the criteria in 3 times the rent amount, that seems like that would actually eliminate almost most of the Section 8 people, 3 times requiring them to make 3 times the rent amount for their income, right there.
You have to take into
People do
consideration
have
the
income and
voucher.
still have vouchers, so I think it really depends on the person. Because the voucher only helps you provide a certain portion of your rent. So you could have an income with and adding in the voucher that could maybe meet that requirement. I think it really just depends on the person who's applying. But again, I know you probably have other things you need to do. I just want to come back to my opening statement, which is thank you. You know, I think a lot of people believe that government doesn't work, government doesn't listen. We've had a really good process to put this bill together, and everybody has tried to sit around a table for several months, actually more than that, 6 months of meetings and conversations and feedback, and all the groups have surveyed their members. You're not the only landlord group that has taken a neutral position. Without having Phil and Cindy at the table, it wouldn't have been as good of a bill as it is. And so I appreciate your neutrality on it. I expect you to hold me accountable if it doesn't go well. I will. Cindy has that too. But thank you. Hopefully we can get this to work right for everybody, and if we don't, we'll keep